gave the guy a ground rule double. And one of the runs was called back, and at the next inning, that only tied the score. See, the next inning, the home team scored 3 runs. And it's still before the courts. Wouldn't that be great to see out a basketball court? Hey, that brings up a point. They got this red, white, and blue ball out there, You've seen those balls they play with in that league. And, of course, there's a big hoopla now about playing the Star Spangled Banner before sports things, And can you imagine the 2 guys are real bugged, ball players, and refuse to play with a red, white, and blue ball. They have to have a third world ball, third world ball, and we're getting into some very big problem. Can't you see this big 6'9" forward, averaging 37 points a game, and suddenly he refuses to play. He just refused to go out on the floor. He won't go. And they said, "Why? How come you won't go, Stilt or Biggie or whatever his name is?" And he says, "I ain't gonna play with that ball." He said, "What do you mean you're not gonna play with that ball?" He had a red, white, and blue ball. I ain't gonna play with that. He said, "What kind of ball will you play with?" "Well, everybody's playing. It's just a ball." He said, "Ain't no ball. That's a red, white, and blue ball." He said, "That's a red, white, and blue ball." He says, "Well, come on, you gotta get out there. The game is gonna be for you. I don't care. They're gonna forfeit. I don't care what they forfeit in no game. I ain't gonna play with no red, white, and blue ball." So what kind of ball you want? He said, "Well, I want a third world ball. Third world ball." And then, of course, there's going to be a lot of action. Guys are going to strike. And, I can see it happening. Can't you, George? These are groovy times. Speaking of things that are moving along kind of good here, we'd like to recommend the House of Chan. We got a note from a guy the other day who said he went to the House of Chan. He says, "And by God, my nose did sweat." He said, "That food is good. That's eating food." And if you would like to visit the place where they mean it about their food, a lot of places are much more serious about the check than they are about the food. Let's keep your priorities straight. I've gone to places like that. You get this great big check in that little itty-bitty hamburger. Have you, George? Well, they don't call it hamburger. They call it beef roulade. Places like that with Orbernaise sauce. But that's an itty-bitty hamburger where I come from. And I would like to suggest that the priorities are right down at the House of Chan. They're really serious about the food. And I think you'll find it reasonably priced. All considered. Because after all, your demands are outrageous too, friend. Wherever you are, whatever you do. And I would like to suggest you visit them. It's the House of Chan, 52nd Street and 7th Avenue, right in the heart of the action belt. All right? Oh, yeah. Everything. It's all within reach there. You can buy yourself. You know that right down the street from the House of Chan is one of my favorite places. The House of Chan's at 52nd and 7th. That's right in that whole big Broadway, Times Square area. Well, right down the street, 1 block south, roughly, is a place where they sell rubber chickens and all these sneezing powders and stuff like that. Have you ever seen those shops? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can buy fake noses, with the big glasses on them. You can buy false beards. All kinds of great stuff down there. You can buy little things that you put under people's coffee tables that look like the dog has lost control of his lower alimentary tract and has laid it right down there in the middle of the Oriental rug. And, yeah, you can buy all that great stuff there. A couple of the traumatic experiences I've had in my life revolved around that particular shop. One time I was standing there. I'm not going to tell you the story. I just let you know that I was standing there looking in the window of that shop one day, and I'm a great fan of sneezing powder, whoopee cushions, stuff like that. And I'm looking in the window, and this elegant salesman that I knew here at the station, the elegant man, he looked like a UN delegate, that kind, comes up to me and he says, "Hey," he said, "It's a coincidence meeting you here." He said, "I have some business in this place." And I said, "You do?" You don't think of guys like that buying sneezing powder, exploding cigars and stuff like that. And we go in there, and he says something to the clerk, and the clerk says, "Well, of course we have it. Do you want the 36 by 28 size, or do you want the big 42 by 37 inch size?" He said, "Well, give me the medium size. 38 by 22 is good enough for me." And they whipped it on him, and it was a big sponge rubber. It was pretty great. It was a sponge rubber bath mat, George. And there was kind of a special bath mat, that you put next to the tub when you come hopping out of your little shower with the bubble bath all over you, and you step on this bath mat. Well, the bath mat was kind of great, George. It was, let's put it this way, it was sponge rubber, but it was made in the form of, say, about 37 different, all in rows, mammary glands in full, true-to-life, real color. And I just couldn't imagine this guy running around on top of that bath mat, getting his kicks that way. I suppose there are certain types that do, but he bought this thing, and they rolled it all up, in this paper to look like butcher's wrapping paper, and he took it out. It's rubber, it's all rolled up there. Later on, I had a terrible experience with that bath mat, which I will not go into at that time, because it was, I might as well briefly tell you what happened. We went down to this elegant French restaurant on the east side, me and this guy, and we went in, and he checked it at the check room there, along with a coat, and if you put it right in the check room there, and we go into this place, and we go into it's a true businessman's lunch joint, they do nothing but expense account stuff, and I go in there, and this is great, the fillet of sole, the whole everything, and they come along with the wine, and they're laying them martinis on you. And this guy's he didn't order martinis by the singular, by the glass. Never. It's the first time I ever saw a guy get a bucket of martinis. They just come in a bucket, big silver bucket. He's dipping them out with a ladle, and he dips about 3 buckets full down. And by that time, he didn't care whether the fillet of sole comes or not. It's just all academic, and he's hollering and whooping it up, waving at all the other account executives in the place. We're doing the same thing, and there's this golden glow in there, and it's kind of dark in this place. So finally, we have to go. It's after all, it's lunchtime, and it's now about 4:30. We only been out to lunch for the last 8.5 hours, so we time to go. See, he used to come checking in here. To make come in the last 5 minutes of work day, make sure they all knew he had been there at work that day, and then check out again, go home. But we're standing out in the street there, and all of a sudden he turns to me, and he's bagged to the ears, and he says, "Hey, I forgot to get my package. You go and get the package. I'll get a cab while you go and get the package." So he gives me the check, and these little round things. It says 42 on it or something, and I go into the check there, in the check room, and all these guys, these elegant men, are coming out of the French restaurant, a place called La Diable, some elegant place, and everything is a la carte there. Everything, even the check is a la carte. You have to pay special, extra, get a check. So I come walking in there. They charge you, for the pencil the guy uses to write out the check, even. So I come in, and I walk up to the check room girl. This little closet, and this fantastic chick is back there, handing out the clothes, and I'm in with all these other elegant people, and I give her the number 42. Well, she hands me this package, it's a long package, great big thing, it's a bath mat, and it's all wrapped up in this butcher paper, and just as she hands it to me, I'll be damned, that the rubber band that was holding the paper on comes off, and this thing unrolls right there in front of everybody, and there I'm standing there holding that bath mat with all them, I just wanted to tell you, it wasn't one of the better moments of my life. Everybody's looking at me, and I felt like, and one guy, I hear snickering and people nudging each other in the elbows, and one girl got turned around. She says, "I never saw anything like this," and she stalks off to the ladies' room, and I start to roll it up, and it kept flying out. Have you ever tried to roll up sponge rubber? Ain't easy. And there I stood. Well, that neighborhood there now has great traumatic values in my life. I don't go near that neighborhood much more, because I see it across the street sometimes. You can buy those bath mats in there, George. Now, if you're a lady type and you're also sick, you can get a bath mat that has other things, but we won't get into that. It's very sick, the world. There I go. I'm taking a value judgment. And by the way, speaking of a value judgment, I think we've done all the commercials, haven't we? Sure we have. Absolutely. And now, tonight, we've got a very difficult thing to deal with here. We've got spies all over. You know that. And one of our spies lives down in Asheville, North Carolina. Now, he says, he used to live up here in New York, see, and he says, up there in New York, You guys, and I have to agree with him. He says, you guys don't even know what's going on in the world, really. You just know what's going on in New York, and only that, barely. He says, it's very different out here. And he sent me this clipping out of the Asheville Citizen, which is the Asheville paper. And if you don't know where Asheville is, that's where Thomas Wolfe, not the Thomas, with the current Thomas, with another Tom Wolfe, the guy that wrote Of Time in the River, and Look Homeward Angel, The Web and the Rock, and all that stuff. See, he come out of there, and he wrote what kind of a place it was. Well, if you think it's changed, as many people tend to do, they hear me tell a story, see, and they say, why, that can't be. That don't happen in Queens. So they figure it must be that I'm talking about the good old golden days, Well, listen to this, friends. I got a note right out of Asheville. It says, from a distance. Now listen carefully. Now, if you're a sinner out there and you think you're going to escape untouched, unscathed, just want you to listen carefully to this now. From a distance, the roof of the large and substantial built Hobbs Street Church of Christ in this community looks as if its front end is adorned by a gigantic surrealistic gargoyle. I repeat that line. I didn't read it well. A gigantic surrealistic gargoyle. Now, this is the church. You got the picture? It's a church. Closer scrutiny reveals the remains of a shattered church spire. The spire, that's that thing that sticks up there, It's shattered, and it's drooping like a half-peeled banana. Now, I want you to picture that. The church spire is drooping over, and it's busted up. It's like a half-peeled banana. Uh-huh. Why? Listen carefully. George, do you have that great big one there, ready in there? The big noisy one? I will give you a cue, and when I hurl a lightning bolt at you, George, I want that to come on big and hard. Now, you got the picture. The church spire is leaning over, right? Why? This church spire was struck by lightning immediately following a Wednesday evening prayer meeting. And just 6 days before, the minister's daughter won a beauty contest clad only in a bathing suit. Yea, indeed, verily, out of the heavens shall come lightning bolts, thunderbolts indeed, alas, shall smite the sinner. Pow! Pow! Listen to that. The church was hit by lightning. Now, you just can't ignore, that's a hint. You just can't ignore that kind of a message. Well, when the church's 4 elders reacted to her victory, this chick, that's the minister's daughter, won a bathing contest, a beauty contest, dressed in a bathing suit. When the church's 4 elders reacted to her victory by firing her father, they fired the minister. Their reaction, gloriously illustrated by a photo of the beautiful chick, Becky Marshall, adorned front pages of newspapers all over the nation. None of these elders has as yet pronounced the pre-beauty contest lightning strike a divine omen. But the ministerial substitute that they procured, now remember, there's a substitute minister they brought in, has done something of this sort. For 2 Sundays in a row, following the sacking of the other minister, yes, sir, the new minister has been making statements that the reason lightning struck the spire of the church was because the church was full of sinners. That they better straighten up. Among other things, his sermon recently cited the ominous fate of certain murmurers against the authority of Moses, whom he described as a church elder. They were destroyed by heavenly fire. Many of you biblical students out there probably know this is absolutely according to the scriptures. That is true. only a remnant of the congregation was present for this sermon because